Yeah, thanks, and it's good to have an opportunity to discuss these things. Um, Settler colonialism, it's a sort of special vein of colonialism because a lot of colonialism was largely a capitalist exercise to exploit resources, exploit people, including shipping people out of countries and various commodities, etc. But settler colonialism, the logic is slightly different, even though they also exploited resources and colonialism, but the logic is one of replacement, seeking to eliminate the native, like as well described by the late Patrick Wolf in his papers Settler Colonialism and Elimination of the Native. And so it seeks to bring in a new logic of entitlement of the people who've come in. It completely fractures the relationship between indigenous people and their land, their resources, their identity as well, the way they use it. Because again, settler colonialism is not just about recruitment of a settler population or increase of the population of settlers who came, but it's also recruitment of indigenous people into the sort of settler mindset, settler consumption patterns, and settler logic, and much to the detriment of those who want to continue their lifestyles that they had before and with the livelihoods that they had before. Yes, it interacts actually very closely because with the sort of coming of independence to many African countries and the famous speech by Edward Macmillan in Cape Town in 1961 to the South African Parliament about the winds of change blowing across Africa. If you look at the formation of national parks in Africa, there was an immediate spike in the 1962, 63, 64, up to the late 60s, following that talk. And this clearly illustrates the need to retain some form of control over lands, or the availability of national parks, or the design of national parks to be spheres of control over lands in Africa after the departure of colonialism, or the theoretical independence we all heard about. So we had national parks ordinances drawn up by the colonial officers and put into place in the soon-to-be independent countries, and now still in place in the independent countries 50, 60 or more years after the said independence. So these are now spheres of control. So the tourism industry obviously in Kenya and many other places places a premium on the tourists coming from outside to see wildlife, and in the countries where it's allowed, they're coming in to even shoot or hunt wildlife. Even the countries in Africa where you find hunting is permitted, you still find that the majority of hunters are those coming from outside. It's not like the hunting situation, let's say in the United States, where every local Tom, Dick, and Harry is out with his gun when hunting season's opened, and it's not by any stretch an elite activity. But in Africa, it's very much an elite activity. And now even tourism, where in a country like Kenya where hunting is not allowed, tourism itself has been turned into an elite activity. And even now, as we speak, the Ministry of Tourism in Kenya, when they talk about performance of the tourism industry, they place all their data on something they call arrivals. Arrivals, i.e. people from outside, they count the data at the airport, immigration figures. So Mordecai jumping in his car in Nairobi and taking his kids to Masai Mara or Tsavo National Park doesn't show up on the tourism radar and is not counted as part of this success. Yes. That's a very important question, and it's one that's really key for people to understand. That it started as a race issue. That's where it started. The settler colonialism logic started as a race issue all those years ago. But coming post-independence, come to post-independence Africa, post-independence Kenya, Tanzania, other countries, this has spread to form the settler class. It's now a settler class, not a settler race, really. It's a settler class. And you have these high-end tourism facilities. So you find even indigenous black Africans and Kenyans or citizens of other countries have joined that class and are partaking of that logic, or dining at that table, if you will, as well as it's also become an economic thing, that all the vast economic resources that exist in the Middle East, they are now becoming the new settler class as that their economic power grows because of the petrodollars and all that. So it's now very much a class issue. So it's important for people to understand now that when we talk about, in terms of conservation and natural resource rights, a lot of times we talk about whiteness, but it's not about physically white people. It's about the white logic, the white logic, the Western logic, and the Western consumption patterns that threaten all this.